Okay. Well then, welcome to the self-reflection series. So it is a self-reflection series is basically a call on people across the world to look beyond the surface level of feelings, politics, um, belief systems, religion, and really just dig deeper. It's about having a constant level of introspection and looking within yourself, having awareness around one's own personal growth and how we interact with others collectively. Self reflection is a catalyst of what can truly revolutionize your life. If you desire to be in a constant state of transformation, then recognizing that it's not so much about the destination, but instead the journey in which you choose. So today we have Coach Abad joining us in some self-reflection and in particular, how that can affect your pursuit of romantic relationships. Christina Abad is a coach, a speaker, and an author on all things love, sex, relationships, and intimacy. She is a love and relationship coach that serves purpose-driven, successful women in attracting a high-quality partner that is loyal, supportive, and adores them without sacrificing their careers, families, or themselves, which I think is extremely important. Christina's mission is to empower women to stop settling for less in unfulfilling relationships and discover how to enjoy the loving intimacy of healthy and lasting relationships. As a mom, Christina's hope is to be an example for her daughter on living life fully and unapologetically, not just in business, but most importantly in love and life. So Christina, thank you so much for joining me today in this self-reflection series.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Angela. I love, you know, everything that this series stands for. I think it's super important to really look within, like you said, and being able to reflect on our experiences, on our range of emotions, right? And just really, I guess in essence, be your best self, right? Be a reflection, right? Have who you are and what you stand for really be a reflection of what you're choosing to stand for. So I think it's super important to self-reflect in that sense as well, to really live fully in every area of your life, especially love, relationships, because that's what life is really all about, right? Having relationships and meaningful ones at that, right?
Yes, definitely, definitely. Because if you don't have meaningful relationships, then well, you don't really have a life. And and that becomes really frustrating. So what really influenced your decision to become a relationship coach?
So it really goes back to love, relationships, sex. To be honest, it's been something that's always interested me. I've always had a passion for relationships, because to be honest, there was a lack of any modeling of healthy relationships in my upbringing. I was raised by a single mom, and I never really knew what relationships were like. She was that mom that devoted herself to her family, and she completely cut off dating. Like I have no real memories of like my mom really ever dating. So for me,
Mm,
I got most of my ideas from media, and really trying to learn how to navigate relationships and romance and all of that, right? So it's always been something that interested me, but it wasn't until I had my daughter that I found myself pregnant, and like this on and off again relationship that wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't what I truly wanted for myself. And I found myself pregnant in this relationship, and I kind of had to take a
mm,
look at myself and
yeah.
self-reflect. And it hit me. I had that moment on whether the woman that I was being, on whether the example that I was giving, the relationship that I was, partaking in, was going to be a good example for my child, if that's what I wanted to represent in this world, right? Even
Mm,
as I think of it now, like I have my brother has 4 daughters, you know? So those are 4 other young women that I'm their aunt, right? They're gonna watch me be in my relationship. So it was really that it really hit home when I was like pregnant in this really bad relationship, and I was like, this is not what I want for me. And as a way of looking to still do what I've always wanted, which was, centered around relationships and helping women, I found coaching. And it's something that has definitely been a journey of self-reflection. It will always continue to be that. And I'm sure we'll get more into that as we get into our talk. But that's what brought me to coaching, looking for a way to continue to explore relationships, to make the best of my relationships, right? And continue to educate others on that as well. Especially because we are all living examples for someone. We might not even know who, right? But our
Yeah.
children, our neighbors, our family, So it was then that I was like, okay, well, I got to get myself together. And I found coaching as a way to help others, provide, for my family, and continue to stand for what I'm truly passionate about, which is healthy relationships, and love. I believe in love, and that we're all, able to have that in our lives in a healthy way with people that really truly care for us.
No, yeah, definitely. That is huge. And I'm so glad that you shared that too, because in talking about like, the way your mom was and how you saw her as mainly just kind of like independent and doing her own thing. You didn't really ever see her, interact in relationships.
Mhm.
Which I think that that can make you feel like, well, she did it without anybody, then I can, which I also believe that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. Just because you can do it alone doesn't mean you should do it alone. And so, how much do you think that like a strong relationship with yourself and reflecting really dictates the quality of relationship you have romantically, or the quality of a relationship that you attract to yourself, and you're able to sift through and choose like, okay, this is the healthy relationship that I want.
Okay. So that's a great question. And I wanna break that into a couple of pieces here. Because
Okay.
you mentioned, for example, not being able to have it all, like, or feeling like you need to choose that,
Right.
you can only be successful, or you can only, be a mom and not have a romantic part. Like, there's this idea that's so ingrained in us, and I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out, where we got this idea from, that we can have one but not the other, or
Right.
it's this or that. It can't, and I'm all about literally taking a stand for the end, because you can have, you can be a good mom, you can be, a responsible adult, you can be, an educated person, you can be whatever you want to be, and have healthy relationships, and have a partner that loves you and supports you, and have, amazing friends that are also, uplifters. So I really wanted to point that out, and I'm so glad you asked that, because there's this notion that, it has to be this or that, and I'm huge on, no, that's not how it goes. No one is really limiting you. And that's where I think that second part of self-reflecting and really self-discovery in what you want in a partner and what you want in a relationship really comes to play. Because, I can certainly tell you, when I was in that 7-year on and off again relationship, I wasn't really self-reflecting at all. I wasn't, like, literally, I wasn't conscious of what on earth I was doing with my life,
Yeah.
putting myself through that. But it had to happen, it was an experience I learned. It was part of my journey, a very big part of my journey. And, that's why everything happens for a reason. But once
Yeah.
again, it's so important, like what you just said, that reflective awareness of, you know, what you want. You know, I certainly didn't want a relationship where I felt that I can get, you know, dumped and picked up whenever I wanted, but I was available for it, right? I was letting it
Right.
rock for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I share that with you and your audience because once again, sometimes we get these ideas or these notions that, you know, we limit ourselves. And it is because there's a lack of that self-reflection on what do I really want? What types of relationships do I enjoy? And even at that, you know, when we are perhaps in a relationship or, you know, dating, we sometimes even tend to cut off our options, right? And like just date
Yeah.
one person and not really give yourself the full experience of dating. Or perhaps you're in a relationship that you're not exactly happy with, but you're like, well, it's good enough and nothing is ever perfect. And there's that lack of communication of you being able to express what you really feel and what you desire and what you want. So I think it's super important, that aspect of self-awareness, of self-reflection, of self knowing, right? Of really knowing what you want. And it's not to say that what we want in our relationship or in a partner won't change, because we change all the time, like every day. Like I'm certainly not even the same person that I was this morning when I woke up,
Me
right?
neither.
We're always changing, right? But it
Yeah.
kind of guides you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of gives you that structure. You know, I know that your community is very conscious. You have a very conscious community, a very aware community. So just to kind of, you know, break it down, it's that like balance of like the feminine and the masculine, right? You have
Right.
the masculine structure of kind of knowing what you want, right? Like what your boundaries are. And then you have your feminine attraction where you get to kind of lean back. And now that you know what you want, you can discern in a better manner, right? Instead of either trying to change someone or trying to, you know, do things in a way that's not gonna fill you, that's not gonna fill you with joy, it's not gonna bring you love, it's actually gonna push it away. But once again,
Yeah.
that awareness is key on where you are in that. Like, where are you in your love life, where are you in your relationship, where are you in that, and how does that play against to what you truly want? And then only seeing it from that aspect can you say, okay, well then these are the steps that I need to take to get there, right? But many times we don't self-reflect, we don't bring that awareness to it because we're like stuck in the drama, we're stuck in it,
Yeah.
we're stuck in our feelings and not really like actually feeling it but reacting, you
Yep.
know. So once again, to answer your question, you know, I feel like it's super important to, of course, evaluate what you want, especially if you're in a situation where you're not happy with what you're currently experiencing. If you want a different experience, if you're looking for a relationship or a connection that you're not feeling now, then it's it's key to be aware of that, right? And not just kind of go with the flow, like things are cool like they are,
Right.
or start, you know, limiting yourself with like, well, I have a good career, but you know, that's how it is, either and
Right.
or, you know. So kind of evaluating where you are is going to really help anyone who's looking to have a healthy relationship, because if you don't know where you are, then that's going to be kind of hard to get you to somewhere else, you know.
Yeah, and I really just wish that, when I was younger that I knew that you existed, because I just feel like, a lot of times many of us go through that period where you said like for 7 years where you were just kind of like everywhere, and you allowed certain things that you would definitely not allow now. And you didn't really recognize your power in that, and how that can move forward, but you do now, and just being able to give that back to other people to empower them to see their relationship with themselves and how that can impact their romantic relationships and empowering them to find the man of their dreams. So that's really beautiful. And I think that's also like a highlight to people that are currently experiencing that there's definitely a way out of it, out of that mentality of just scarcity, like there's nobody out there for me, or I don't know where to start, or there's no one that can relate to what I need, and there's nobody specifically for me that has all these different values and beliefs that I personally agree with and I need and I desire. But those are all limiting beliefs and those are all false perceptions. And so I'm so glad that you highlighted that. And I'm curious too, pertaining to when you mentioned that your mom didn't really have, um, that didn't really date anybody. So did that have anything to do with how you have chosen like men, even in the 7-year period? Like, was it difficult to then try to filter through what even is a healthy relationship and who is really for like Christina Abad? Like, because I can only imagine on my end, and how I was raised and how difficult it was for me to navigate that for so long until I recognized all the different things within myself, and I was very clear about, okay, this is what I want, this is who I want to be, and I started walking in that, and innately I was able to attract who I have now, and as well as he attracted me, and it ended up working out. So that's my question to you. Do you feel like that really put a lens on you as to who you chose initially, and how did that kind of change over time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, oh man, that's such a good question because it has so many levels. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, where do I start? So, absolutely, on all the levels, because here's how that kind of went down for me. So my mom, like I said, I never really saw her date. So most of the ideas that I picked up about relationships, one was from religion because
Right.
she's very Christian. She had the Catholic upbringing. So it was like, you're really not
Mm,
supposed to like do anything or don't
right.
even speak to men until you're married. Like, you're
Cover those ankles.
and that's how it kind of was for her. Like, she had someone that would come to the house. Like, she wasn't even like allowed on dates and stuff like that. Like, you
Mm,
come to the house, you visit, you got married, and then okay, now you can take her out the house.
right.
So
Wow.
imagine going from that. So my mom has a very like strict, like very like old school way of how things were done. So, I, like I said, I never really saw her like interact with men, period. So for me, most of it, what I picked up from relationships was from what I saw on TV. And coming
Mm.
a Spanish background, Latino household, we
Eh.
watched, yeah, we watched novelas, soap.
Yeah.
Um, and if you've ever watched a soap opera out there, you certainly know that they're feisty. They're filled with drama. They're filled with heartache. There's always someone crying, someone getting cheated on, someone getting heartbroken. And to be honest, these were like this is where I got all my like guy info from. Like,
Oh
me growing
gosh.
up,
Yeah.
my mom's not dating, she's like watching novelas, and I'm
Yeah.
here like, this is what relationships are supposed to be like. They're supposed to be drama, they're supposed to be hard, they're supposed to be heartbreak, they're supposed to be turmoil, and there has to be all this stuff that has to happen and we have to overcome for us to finally be together.
Oh wow.
mm.
Wow.
So for
Yeah.
sure, for sure, it played a huge part in my outlook on relationships, my views on what love and romance was supposed to look like, when I'm over here watching, you know, like Flavio get smacked because he was with the sister and the cousin, and you know, so it's I laugh at it now, and we laugh because it's funny, but it's also so true. It's so
Yeah.
true how, you know, outside influences really, really shape what our perspectives are on relationships, on love, on what a healthy, right? What a healthy relationship. I'm sure not many of the relationships in novelas were healthy at all, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
you know, so for me, being able to shift out of that, like, yeah, like I met, you know, this person when I was like, what, 18? So it, for me, it was that like mentality of like old school, like, no, this is the one, like this is the one,
Yeah,
this
right.
one, like, and thinking it has to be this way. It has to be drama. It has to be like at the end we're gonna overcome and love each other forever.
Wow. Yeah.
Clearly, clearly, you know, that was so misguided. You know, it was a very
Yeah.
misguided perception, but that's where I was at that time. And looking back on it now, like I said, it's that's why I love, for example, like what we're doing now, speaking on these matters, because it rings true for everyone in their own certain type of way, right? In whatever upbringing you had, and whatever influences you had, they all, you know, contribute to your perception and how you do relationships, you know, how you relate to people, how you relate to friends, how you relate, you know, to a lover. So, you know, to answer your question, for sure, it had a lot of influence, but it's also, like I said, part of my journey of being able to come out here on the other end and now really be able to speak to you on it, and show other women that just because, you know, even if at this moment you feel like, you know, it had to be that one, maybe you're that person who's in that place where you're thinking it has to be that one, or you're in that place thinking, you know, it has to be dramatic, or, you know, wherever you are, just know that you can shift that. You know, you don't have to stay in that place, because at the end of the day, when we come to that awareness and that self-reflection, we realize we have a choice, and that is our power, our
Yeah.
decision making, our choice making, and being able to recognize that and kind of pick that back up is super powerful. And knowing that whatever, even, you know, past experiences, like you got cheated on, rejected, hurt, you know, betrayed, left, abandoned, you know, all those other things that have happened, while they may have not been great at that moment, all contribute also to now bringing that awareness, now bringing, you know, bringing it to light that that's not what you want, that you're ready for that shift and to do things differently. So that's, I think that's key in kind of, you know, in the contrast of, you kind of have to go through some stuff to realize, hey, maybe this isn't exactly what I wanted, and then
Yeah.
make choices.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely relate to when you were saying about like thinking that relationships were supposed to be drama, for sure. Like I know in my particular sense, like throughout my every single relationship besides, you know, my current marriage, um, I definitely, even on a subconscious level, would create situations. And I feel like my partner did the same. Even when situations didn't, there was nothing happening, there had to be something happening. I remember at one point, one of my exes, and this is wild, but they literally created a fake page and sent me messages on the fake page, which I then ignored. But because I guess I didn't block that fake page, I just ignored them. And I showed him the fake page. He still found a reason to get so explosively mad. and angry and doing and like was throwing stuff. And it was crazy because after the whole situation, finding out that he's the one that created the page and he's the one that, and I didn't entertain the page, and yet there was still an issue. So I feel like, yeah, there's definitely that underlying subconscious thought of like, you know, whether it comes from a show or a telenovela or watching it in person with family members or friends. Um, there's toxic relationships and drama-filled relationships everywhere we go. We can't get away from it. But recognizing that you do have a choice in if you're going to participate in that is extremely powerful, and that you can unlearn a lot of that, those limiting beliefs that just completely stifle your growth as a person and also your growth in healthy relationships. So I really love that you highlighted that. And what is like some advice that like you wish you were given before you even started dating? Um, Something that you wish like you were given even before like you stepped into, you know, a toxic relationship or a relationship that wasn't fulfilling for you.
Ooh, what advice? I think the most powerful advice that anyone could have really given me, because I got advice. I got advice from my brother, I got advice from friends, and it's just funny because we're usually not all that receptive in those moments. But
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like trusting your intuition is the biggest advice that anyone could have given me that I probably could have taken at that time,
Mm,
because it'll always guide you. It'll always let you know when something's off. It'll always, and here's the truth. So many times we ignore it, or we're like, no, that we question it. We doubt it. And really going with that intuition, with that gut feeling, I think is super powerful for anyone in relationships. I think we are all in a space where we know about vibes, we know about, energy, and we know that, if something feels off, it's most likely off, and if something feels right, then also go with that as well. Many
yeah,
times we don't allow ourselves to enjoy when it feels right, or to celebrate when it feels right. We go into like, oh my gosh, this feels too good, like this is not happening, and then boom, like
right.
shut down, self-sabotage, go back to doing the same thing that we were doing before without realizing it, right? Unintentionally. But it's like that reaction, right? um but once again, trusting your intuition and really letting it guide you would be one of the most powerful things that I think anyone could have told me then.
Mm. So how do you what do you qualify as like a healthy relationship with a romantic partner?
So a healthy relationship, and that is an amazing question. And I'll put it to you like this. Obviously, we have like our basic, like, I guess you could say needs, expectations, for each relationship, right? But it's of course always going to vary depending on the relationship itself. We have
Yeah,
open relationships, we have exclusive relationships. So keeping that in mind, I think, some of the most important things that contribute to a healthy relationship would be communication. There
yeah,
has to be an open sense of being able to share with each other, to communicate your wants, your needs, your desires, how you're feeling, your dislikes. Also, of course, in a way that, second thing I would say is respect, right? That holds
yes,
intact, having respect for one another, trusting, the third thing, trusting one another is also an important key when it comes to a healthy relationship. And of course, keeping it fresh and exciting, whatever that means for each individual relationship, whether it's
yeah,
vacations, whether it's, movie nights, whatever continues to contribute to the growth of the relationship and the building the bond of that relationship. Which when I work with my clients, we usually work on a vision, on a shared vision
Mm,
once they have a partner, because there's nothing more that like really unites you and strengthens you than a shared vision.
yeah,
So
definitely.
those are some of like the key things that you have to be on the same page about. You have to respect each other, right? Share the same values, right? The same values. And for many of us, like I said, for every individual, it's different. They're the moral compass, the values that they hold dear to them, once again, depending on upbringing, depending on perspective and where they are in their relationship, um, it'll vary. But if you can kind of gauge where the other person is, and know that you have that in common, know that that's something that you guys are united in, like that vision, your shared values, communication, trust, love, respect, then I think you have a pretty good recipe for a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I love that there's like some staples that are really concrete, but then it's also kind of fluid in how you want to format that. And that's very, very true. And I can second that with the shared vision, because I think I shared with you last time about that my husband and I created a mission statement, and I think that it's um that's really a huge thing because it kind of focuses both of your attention on something to do together and also a reminder in times that are harder, such as now in coronavirus, in the world, that we came together for specific reasons. Um, and what are we going to work together on, and what is our focus on in this current human experience together. So I love that you do that in your program, and I'm sure that it's a very like liberating experience for clients. So I hope that everyone that is watching definitely tunes in to your Instagrams too, because you definitely put a lot of amazing content on there, that you share and give tips and stuff like that. And that's also kind of something that I want to touch on pertaining to the coronavirus. So with the coronavirus, I've noticed that a lot of people kind of are, feeling hopeless pertaining to relationships and love. And so I'm just curious on what you think about that and what you would say to people, to the question, like, how possible is it for someone to find their partner now that is the coronavirus?
Oh, I love that question, Angela, because right now there like literally is no better time. I mean, in general, there's no better time like now, right? I think we've all heard
Right.
that. Seriously, online dating, I think it had a bad reputation for being like this sleazy place where people congregate online
Yes.
to
Mhm.
hook up. But the truth is that like technology is everywhere now, right? We've seen so much growth in technology. We use all these different social media platforms, all this technology that we literally have in our hand, right? We have all these different apps, all these different ways of communicating with people. So people are now like finding it more and more acceptable to meet people online. And not
Yes.
for nothing, I'm not wrong. Like statistics show that like 30% of the people that are getting married nowadays are meeting online.
Yeah.
So there's huge potential there. Not to mention that, with online dating, you might meet someone that you might never run into in real life. You might meet someone who, lives, a really far distance from you. You never know who you'll meet. And that's the magic of it. I feel like, especially right now, during this time of uncertainty, of the coronavirus, there's a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of, kind of confusion as to what's
Yeah.
going to happen, what's going on. What I can tell you is that I think everyone individually is kind of in that space where they're evaluating. They're in that self-reflection space because we have,
Yeah.
time, and because we have this space that was actually like created for us, right? This coronavirus space that has been created for us, where we are now evaluating our relationships. We're evaluating, our friendships, our livelihoods, right? So many people are evaluating their career choices, their education, right? Everyone right now is kind of in that place where they're like, oh my gosh, like, what if I never get to do what I've always wanted? Like, what if now
Yeah.
I'm like quarantined to my house until who knows when? What if, right? And that question, what if, really sparks it in you, because what if I never get to meet that love? What if
Mm.
I never get to experience someone that actually cares about me? Like, there's
Yeah.
mayhem going on in the world, and I don't have anyone to check on me to see if I'm alive.
Mm.
And this is like, this is what I hear from women in my group, in my community, like that they're feeling this way now. And so are men. I have men that reach out to me too, and they say, like, man, this has really been a time that I'm like, what is the legacy that I'm gonna leave in this world? Like,
Mm.
if I die tomorrow, like, because here's the truth, and I share this with my audience and my community all the time. Coronavirus or not, like, tomorrow's never promised.
That's
Tomorrow's never
true.
promised. Coronavirus or not, like, you know, there's so many other things that could happen in between, you
Yeah.
know? And it's just, that's how it happens, that, right, this unfortunate event that everyone, is living literally as a whole conscious universe. We're all living this together. um we've created this space to kind of give us time to reflect on what's important. And for many men, they're thinking about their legacy, they're thinking about their families, right? I think for many of us, a marker of what we've accomplished in life, what we've done in the world, right, is like either our careers or our families,
Yeah.
right? For many of us, it's our families, like our legacy, right? Our children, our heritage, our culture, like whatever
Yeah.
that is. Like, what do you leave behind, or how will you be remembered? And this is like literally what's going through everyone's mind. And depending on what's most important to you and what you're choosing, right? Like we said, we have choices, right? We can choose to make something a priority or not. But I do share that if this is something that has come up for you, thinking about, man, I'm going through this tough situation. I have no one who's checking in on me. I'm not talking to anybody. Nobody's, and I share, like, I'm dating someone who like literally dropped off toilet paper at my doorstep and was like, bye, bye. But it's like, and it's endearing, but it's like, could you
Yeah.
imagine people like who are like, damn, like, I don't even have someone who's gonna come drop off toilet paper for me, or
Yeah, that's
go,
sweet.
it was really sweet. But I share that because that's what everyone's feeling. Like,
Yeah.
damn, nobody cares about me, or is this how I'm really gonna go out? Never having that, never experiencing that. And
Yeah.
once again, it really falls into what you choose to make a priority. Because even
Right.
like I said, right now we're kind of like highlighting it because of the coronavirus. But every day we have a choice. Every day we get to decide what we make a priority. And for many women, like my mom, right, who never made relationships a priority. It was just
Yeah.
work, provide for my family, kid time, like work, and
Yeah.
you get into that, and you don't make yourself available for a relationship or for a romantic connection. So right now, it's really like, as always, you always have a choice, but right now you kind of have that moment to self-reflect. You have that moment to, weigh your options and see what you want to do. Do you want to feel like no one cares about you and this is how you're going to go out? Or do you want to, take this time while we're in quarantine and meet some guys online and practice online dating and practice communicating and chat some guys up? And what if one of those is the one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
So
definitely 1,000% for that.
I'm all for online dating. I'm all for
Yes.
enjoying it, once again, for many women who are ambitious and career driven. They're so in their masculine energy of doing things all day long. It's hard sometimes, but I share this because if you could just do one thing, which is like create your profile, and then literally fall back into your feminine, right? You're letting the masculine structures of an online dating app, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Masculine structures, you're doing your part, right? You're creating your profile, but then allowing yourself to be discovered, right? Having fun with
Yeah.
it. Into your feminine, playing, flirting, talking, chatting. And the beauty is, and the reality is that we only get to really discover ourselves through other people.
Mm.
Because if there's no lens to reflect on, then we
Yeah.
just are like twiddling our fingers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this lonely little human, right? We can only like develop ourselves and come to know ourselves through other people, through our interactions, through how we show up, through who we want to, embody and represent in the world. So I feel like online dating is such a cool playground for
Yeah.
anyone that's looking to date, to really connect with people. And like I said, right now we're in a time where men are feeling it too. Like women like to think like, no, guys don't have feelings. They don't know what it feels like. But let me assure you, ladies, let me assure you, like, they get in their feelings too. They want to feel cared for too. They want to feel supported
Yeah.
too. Like if they're working, or if you're a nurse and you're working, right? Or if you're one of our essential workers, right? You're working right now, you're at the supermarket, wherever you are, wouldn't it be so sweet to receive a text like, be safe, like I can't wait to hear from you later?
Yeah.
Like that word of encouragement, that word, like that feeling of knowing like someone cares for me, someone, is cheering me on. So
Yeah.
it's super important that if that is a calling that you have in your heart for love and a real relationship, then go all for it. Give yourself permission to go and play, to go and have fun and be yourself, and see what it is you're really looking for. I know, just to add an extra little tip on dating, don't always judge a book by its cover. And I know we hear this a lot and it's cliche, and I mean, at the end of the day, you're swiping left or right on a picture, but take the time to read the description. Take the
Yeah.
time to, if you're serious about a relationship, then show that you're serious, right? Be intentional about how you're going into online dating. When I work with my clients, I tell them I don't recommend that they do more than 2 sites or apps at a time, right? Don't overwhelm yourself. Really take your time, right? Don't just swipe, 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 swipe. Like, be intentional and conscious about why you're swiping right or left on this person, because you
Right.
never know, like maybe they just look really bad in pictures and maybe they're actually really handsome in real life. Like, you don't know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You don't know. You might really enjoy the conversation, you might really have fun, make a new friend, and you might meet the real one that you connect with, that you really hit it off with, and end up building that, foundation now, right now, where there's no pressure to meet. You can video chat, you can voice message, you can do all the things. And it's such a beautiful time for women to once again take their power back and be courted, right? You're not the chaser here, you're being courted.
Yes.
You're putting
That
yourself
divine feminine.
on display. And you're gonna see who comes to you, and you're gonna see who you match with. And that's also, you know, a revelation, because that'll tell you a lot, right? Like who you match with, your types. Like I love
Yeah.
with my clients, we do a little type analysis, like, okay, so you seem to be attracting these type of guys.
Yes.
It's such an experience. So I definitely recommend it. I'm all for it. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, no, it's extremely important. And I don't know if I shared this with you, but I met my husband on Tinder. So I'm 1,000% for online dating. It took a while, you know, anything good takes time to find each other, but I did. And he ended up his first message to me was, if you give me a chance, I'm going to marry you. And to myself, I was thinking, what kind of like new stuff do people have like these days? Like what kind of stuff are guys on like at this point, you know, with these lines? Like this is getting kind of intense, you know?
What
And
kind of game you trying to play?
yeah. And so I gave him my Snapchat because I was like, I don't know about my number yet. And, you know, he was in California and I was in North Carolina at NC State University at the time. And we just Snapchatted every day, like sent videos to each other and stuff. And we connected very deeply on that. And then over some time, I think it was like 7 months, we finally met in person because I found out he was in the military. He ended up coming to North Carolina, and because that's where he's from, and we ended up actually meeting in person as friends. And he was just so different and such a gentleman. He was just way more than what I thought he was going to be like. And then after 3 days, he went to Japan. So for a year, we had an online relationship again. We actually, you know, became exclusive within the next, I don't know, 30 days or so. And yeah, I mean, time has, you know, gone on and we got married and we're now in San Diego, California, you know? So I think that, you know, yes, I agree. Right now is the perfect time to be in a relationship and um, go online and just, you know, find what works for you. I think I went on several dates before I ever met Mike on Tinder. So, and it was just a lot of just seeing what I liked, what I didn't like you said, just having fun, enjoying the singleness of it all. Um, and now I'm very content and I enjoy my marriage. It's very fun. We are spontaneous. We do, you know, so many things and we're on point with each other about our core values and what we, you know, plan to do in the future. So I love that. And so for you, in that and in engaging in those client relationships, what really like made you inspired to pursue healthy love? You know, because I recognize in the conversations that I have with my clients in my various coaching programs, a lot of things come up where people do want a healthy relationship, but they don't really want it enough to the point that they want to shift, or they don't really know, you know, where to start. So I'm just curious, like for you, what were some of your inspirations to think about, like, you know what, I do want a healthy love and I'm going to make some changes to focus in on that?
Oh, for sure. So, I mean, for all my astrology people out there, so like I'm a Cancer. So I'm very
Okay.
water signy, emotional. So me growing up on novelas was like, oh my gosh, like romantic, like, oh my goodness, I was romantic. Like I used to write poetry and like it was, you know, I was very like attached to that like end of like happily ever after. I think for many of us that also grew up watching like, you know, like Disney movies and things like that, right? You're always thinking of the happily ever after. And I think while many of the representations of relationships, even in those movies and in these novelas and wherever we may look, could be, at the end of the day, what rings true to all of us is love.
Yeah.
It's the universal thread that runs through each and every one of us. We all feel love. We're all capable of feeling love. And that's a whole nother thing, because we can also choose not to feel love. We can also choose to shut down from love. So it really comes to personal choice, to that personal, like, do you get to that level where you're like, enough is enough? I choose love over fear. I choose love over being hurt
Mm,
again, or the possibility, because it has to come from a knowing that love is
right.
available for you. It has to come from a knowing that love is possible for you. Because, and it's so funny, I actually wrote a post on this yesterday. If you don't believe it, then what's the point? Like, if you don't believe
Mm,
you can have it, of course you're not going to make a move for it.
right.
And then that's when it has to come down to it, where you start asking yourself those questions and doing that, like, self-reflection. Well, okay, why wouldn't I want it? Or what
Mm,
makes me think that I can't have it? Or what makes me think that it's not possible for me? Like, it's possible for Susie, why isn't it possible for me? So
mm,
it's really, once you get to that place where you really, you have to have a desire. You have to have a
yeah.
desire for it. I can tell you, my mom, I do have an older brother. He is 18 years older than me, and my mom waited
Wow.
all that time. Exactly, she waited all that time to, like, give herself a shot at love, and then, had me. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like after that, and she had me at 40. So after that, for her, she was kind of like, I'm done, I'm focusing on my family. But I say this
Yeah.
because, one, there is no age limit for love. So no matter where you are, don't,
Mm, yes.
yeah, don't think that that's, like, because I know that was one of the things that played a part in her decision to
Right.
choose love. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To kind of forfeit the love chip and be like, no, I'm just gonna do this, right?
Right.
She chose solely family and providing,
Yeah.
so realizing that at the end of the day, it's a choice. At the end of the day, the only ones that can limit ourselves are us. We're the only ones that
Right.
get in our way. But you really have to have that desire. I think my mom, she lost that desire. Or I'm lying, I don't think she lost the desire. I think she might still have the desire, but she chooses not to pick that one up. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah.
So it's, one, recognizing that you have a desire, because if it's not something that you desire, something that you want, like, then once again, what's the point? You're not going to go for it. But if you recognize in your heart that you do have a desire, and not for nothing, like, humans, we are social beings. We are meant to socialize and have relationships, and, we're meant to do that stuff. We're not meant to be like, lone ranger, like, you're doing,
Right. At all.
we're social creatures.
That's a
But
self-limiting belief that you should have to do everything alone. And that's something that I also talk about like that single independent woman syndrome. I call it a syndrome because it's really a limiting belief towards almost every single aspect of your life, whether that is a business, whether that is love and relationships, whether that is pursuing your purpose, whether that is anything.
for
You're
sure.
not supposed to do that alone. We are, people, and we are human beings that need other human beings. We're not supposed to be on our own in an island by ourselves with all the lights off. And we definitely have to be, and we have to really grasp the concept that unity with other human beings, our family, our friends, and our romantic partners is a healthy thing, and that should be the new normal. It should always be the normal. But I think, yeah, that's definitely a limiting belief that we just have to do it alone. We just have to provide and take on other masculine energy traits. So definitely.
Oh, for sure. And, once again, it's coming back to, do you even want it? You
Yeah.
know? Because if you don't want it, you don't want it. But if you do want it, then what are you going to do about it?
Yes.
Because it's true. If you do want it, then you can start examining things like those limiting beliefs, like what says that you can't have it, or how do I get to it, or how do I make that happen? Because I also know that, when I work with my clients and in my community, there's also women that feel like they take like the spiritual high road, and
Mm,
they go, oh, it's gonna show up when it's meant to show up. It's gonna be there when it's meant to be. And while yes, in a sense, but if
right.
you're not preparing for it and you're not
Hmm.
intentional about it,
Yes,
then
intentionality. Yes.
for sure, then you know what's gonna show up, the things that you don't want, because that's most likely what you're still reliving, right? The fear of being hurt, the, betrayal, the rejection, all of that, and all of the limiting beliefs, that's what's going to show up.
Yeah.
So it's really a key of, one, do you want it? Like, do you desire it if it's something that you want? And then actually choosing to go for it, choosing to make it a priority, choosing to be intentional about it, choosing to be in it for the long haul. Because here's the truth, I also know so many women get discouraged when it doesn't happen for them right away. 2 months,
That's
oh,
true.
still single. Here's a little secret. The time is gonna pass no matter what. Time
Yeah.
keeps ticking. It's not gonna stop for you. It's not gonna stop for me. It's gonna keep going. So you can either take that same time that you're gonna sit back and like wait and hope, or actually take that same time and do something and go for it and make those connections and meet new people. So for sure, it's at the end of the day, it's all a choice. It's all a choice about what you want to bring forth in your life. And if love and a relationship is it, then really be intentional about it and go for it. Don't just say it, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's it? Walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Well, what's what's your favorite part about being a relationship coach?
My favorite part, oh my God, my favorite part about being a relationship coach is really leading women to that self-awareness,
Mm,
like leading women back to self, leading women back to love, leading women into their power. That is what brings me most satisfaction, because once you're there, here's the truth, ladies, like, he's gonna show up, the right guy, the right partner, the right girl.
yes, he is.
That partner is going to show up. But once again, you have to be intentional about it. Once again, it requires you to do your part. So to me, that's my favorite part. Like, a woman owning, like, being able to hold space for a woman who's like, yeah, like, I'm standing for love, and I'm standing for knowing that that's what I get to have. And I'm standing for my power in knowing that I get to live that. That is my favorite part. Like, when a client is like, yeah, this is what I was made for.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I know this definitely won't be the last time. I did see that you have like a 3-day challenge out right now. And yeah, so I'm just curious, like, how can we join in? And if you can expand a little bit about that.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it's running this weekend. So it'll be
Okay.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a 3-day challenge, and it actually stems from my original signature program, the Dare to Date program, which is all
Okay.
about, daring to date and, getting yourself out there. But I wanted to make it really special because we are going through these uncertain times that are leading us to connect in a different way, to connect through technology. So this 3-day challenge is really all about dare to date online. So, how to be intentional about dating online, how to create
Wow.
a profile, how to really get yourself out there and have, great conversations that are going to lead to more. So I'm super excited for this challenge. And actually, I just got a URL for it. So if anyone wants to join, they can go to daretodatenow.com. That's daretodatenow.com. And you'll be able to join the challenge. And it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait.
All right. Well, is there any other way that we can reach you to learn more about you specifically as well?
Absolutely. So I am on Instagram, Facebook. You can search for me for Coach Abad. You can also, if you would like to talk and you're ready, to really get some insights on what's holding you back from, that loving relationship that you desire, you can go ahead and go to www.chatwithchristina.co, and you can get on my calendar and speak to me directly, and we can see, what I can share to help you, because like I said, there's no time like the present, Angela. And I'm so grateful that, we got to connect. And I know it certainly won't be the last because
Yeah.
I enjoy our conversations too much. But yeah, like really, really to share that message with the people in your community is like, there's no time like the present. Like, you don't have to wait for anything to go wrong for you to really make a decision on what you want in your life. And if that's love, then, go for it. Really, really take the next step, whether that's creating your profile, whether that's reaching out to me or reaching out to Angela. Like, do something, right? If you need support, get the support you need, and get yourself, once again, in a community like ours that are really there to support you and guide you and cheer you on. Because, like we've been sharing today, we aren't meant to do this alone. We're meant to do this in a community. We're meant to be supported, right? There's that
Yes.
saying that it takes a village, right? Like,
Yes.
it
It really
literally.
does.
So once again, I'm super appreciative of being able to connect with you, to share with you, and I definitely look forward to many, many more.
Yes. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us today on the self-reflection series. And definitely will leave all of your information at the bottom for people to connect and join that challenge. So appreciate you and thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.